All of this comes as the UH Board of Regents meeting is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Joining us now live is former Regent Jeff Portnoy. Aloha and good morning, Jeff. Thank you so much for stopping by with us this morning.
Good morning.
So this all became in a whirlwind of about 48 hours. What do you make of President Lassner's decision to let go of Angeles for what he called performance reasons?
Well, I think there's a lot that goes into this. I don't have any inside information as to why he was let go. I think a few things, though, can be stated for fact. One, Craig did not have a contract. He was an at-will employee. He could be terminated or he could leave for any reasons. They didn't like the Closey War, or he didn't like his office set up. So he didn't have any contractual protection. And why he agreed to enter into the job without a contract, you'll have to ask him. Then there's the issue of, why did the president do this on his last few weeks on the job and leave a legacy that has become so controversial in the last 48 hours? Why didn't he leave it to the new president? People tell me that he did not want to leave this issue to the new president because of exactly the reaction it's getting. And he thought that it was the right thing to do for him to make this decision at this time. I think the bottom line, though, Sam, is it's not good. It's an athletic department that appears to be in turmoil. He is not the first athletic director to be fired in the last 15 years. I've counted 3 in 15 years. There may be more. And you have an athletic department that is struggling because of external and now internal factors. So it's not a good day for UH athletics, regardless of the reason.
It's a difficult situation. One of the few times that you see fans rallying behind an athletic, especially at the University of Hawaii. They plan on flooding the Regents meeting tomorrow with emails, et cetera, in support of Craig Angeles. Is there anything that the Regents can do in this situation?
Well, all I can do is tell you that when I was a Regent, I headed the athletic committee, and I proposed, and it was adopted, new rules that the Regents would stay out of athletics. If you look back at UH history in athletics and the Regents getting involved in things they never should have gotten into, and the controversies of who to hire as a coach and et cetera, we passed rules that, except for rare situations, for example, if a contract exceeded a number of years or the salary exceeded a salary range, the Regents would stay out of the athletic business. I hope they haven't changed that rule since I've been gone, because if they have, it's a terrible decision. One of the primary responsibilities of a university chancellor, if we had one and we don't, or a university president, is the hiring and firing of athletic director. To let the Board of Regents get involved is a very bad situation, in my opinion, and we had done away with it. I hope nothing comes of it tomorrow, regardless of how the public feels. You gauge the president, and this president fired this guy right before he leaves. I don't think there's anything anybody can do.
Craig Angeles is somebody that a lot of the student athletes respect. There was a very large, overwhelming outpouring of support from some of the prominent student athletes. What would you like to see in the future athletics director? Lois Mannon obviously is going to be the interim. What do you think you need in a future athletics director at UH to support these student athletes?
Wow. Well, in a few minutes, I think that's a very difficult thing to respond to. So many things are happening externally that affect the University of Hawaii. Conference realignment, NIL, transfer rules, the amount of money starting next year that universities can pay up to $20,000. Don't you wish you were still playing baseball?
Sure do.
$20,000 per student, which universities are going to be allowed to pay. How does the University of Hawaii, with its minuscule athletic budget, no stadium, et cetera, how can they compete externally? Craig did some good things. We got the university into the Mountain West in all sports. We'll see how that works out. But we're still talking about a very difficult situation, a very limited budget. The legislature never funds the athletic department to the extent it needs to be funded to be a competitive Division I football program. Just look at the results. That's not a criticism of coaches. It's a reality of economics. So there's a lot to be done. Can Lois do it? She's been involved internally for a long time, but I don't know what kind of experience she has externally. And I think the real problem is it just seems to be turmoil within the department. And how successful can you be in my job or in your job if everybody around you is plotting to get rid of you? It's almost like a Shakespearean play.
Yeah, well said with that. Jeff Portnoy, former University of Hawaii Regent, thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your thoughts.
Anytime, my friend.